Hey everybody, welcome to
Hello.
Syffany's Walk with Grace. We are here today to discuss Halloween, Samhain, otherwise known as Dia de los Muertos, and All Saints Day. To a degree, the focus is more on Halloween, but All Saints Day does kind of play into it. Um,
hmm
we know that this has kind of been a long time controversy, like more undercover nowadays, but you still see people that are like, at people wearing costumes or at houses that are decorated. And then the people that do the decorating are like, why don't you celebrate? Like, I don't understand. So we're kind of here to try to clear a little bit of that up and hopefully we can all meet halfway.
I like that. Yes, meet halfway. hmm
Understanding. I feel like understanding is one of the primary objectives. Um, and I think it really holds some relevance in this. So,
Sure. I mean, all of our big holidays, right? Halloween in particular, but Christmas, Easter, and Halloween, I think are the three major
yes.
that Christianity, in their efforts to convert pagans, kind of intermingled them a little bit.
Yes,
So, yeah.
they do. So a lot of the major holidays are involved, big holidays in the pagan and Wiccan calendars.
hmm
That goes all the way back to the Celts. You have the Nordics. That's the Viking side of it. So there's actually a lot of pagan and Wiccan religions and cultures from quite a bit of areas dating way back in the day. And so what they did was in a means of trying to convert without having to use force. They tried to, okay, well, if we combine holidays, maybe that'll help. So Halloween is All Hallows Eve, and All Hallows is All Saints Day. So that's why it's All Hallows Eve. And then All Saints Day is November 1st, which was the day when the saints were honored. So basically the church declared them as saints and they're like, all right, like you guys are saints and you have done really good things and da da da. So this is a day to commemorate you. And I mean, which I get, that's cool, nothing wrong with that. But
hmm
by trying to tie it in with All Hallows Eve, that was in a way their way of trying to convert the Celts as well. So Halloween is actually New Year's Eve for us. Um,
hmm
Back in the day, if you look even in the Bible, the years actually started around this time, not in January. So I'm not entirely sure when that flip-flopped, but it did.
Yeah.
It was Anglo-Saxon England was and the Celts that mostly, at least in some of the research I did, it was mostly that area. For Sawan, which other people call Samhain, the proper terminology is Sawan. Although I can't pronounce it right, so it's still not technically proper. It is what it is. So basically, it's the end of an old, the beginning of a new, and it's also the where the veil is thinnest. So what I really love about Halloween is that it's when your ancestors come to visit because it's the easiest for them to do so. So a lot of pagans and Wiccans, they will set up shrines. And you also see this very heavily with Dia de los Muertos, with the Hispanic cultures and the Latin cultures. They'll set up shrines with like pictures of their loved ones. There's certain breads that are actually made that are meant to be for your loved ones to feast on while they join you. A lot of them will put out like a glass of wine. um yeah, it's actually really neat. And a lot of times you'll have like a candle, maybe some flowers. Most of the time with both sides, it doesn't matter if you're going the pagan Wicca side or if you're going to the Hispanic culture side of it and the Latin culture side. But, and guys, if I screw something up, please let me know. I'm doing my best. I did a bunch of research and I've been doing research on Halloween for a long time, but I've also never gone to visit yet. So feel free to comment. But anyway, Dia de los Muertos is a 3-day event actually, and 31st deceased children. November 1st was the adults, and the second was known as All Souls Day in the Catholic religion. For us, it's another thing is the Celts used to dress up, and they would where the dressing up and the decorating came from, as far as we can kind of tell. There's still a little bit of debate here and there, but the logic is, well, if it's easier for the loved ones to come through the veil, then obviously Satan can come through the veil too with his minions. And if it looks like Satan and his minions already reside there, they're just going to overlook you and move on. So it was actually a protective method, a spiritual protective method to start, as far as I was able to kind of tell. Like I said, there's still some debate on it, but I think that's really cool. And given what I do and my beliefs and everything, I do take a big part in Halloween. We have the fronts all decorated, and it's really exciting for me. So, but other people, like for Grace, she doesn't necessarily get down on Halloween the way that I do. I took after my dad on that one all the way.
Mhm. True. Yeah. Definitely over the last couple of years, I have rethought many of our kind of traditions, particularly in our family, because I want to let go kind of that which isn't, I wanted to bring more meaning into what we were doing. And I think I even spent well, I know I did. I spent a couple years not celebrating anything, didn't I?
Yeah.
Much to you guys, you girls' disappointment, but I needed to. I was trying to, kind of, I, when something is really broken, sometimes you have to let it all fall apart, and it can take a while to get it to come back together. So,
Or to make something new.
and to make something new, yeah. So I wanted more stability, more understanding of what I was doing and why. So, yeah. I love that you have made it a point to set up a shrine. I actually really, really like that. I we've been doing that since the dawn of time in some fashion or form, right? When our loved ones leave, to somehow keep their remembrance, to somehow, kind of keep them with us. So how we do that you know, is really varied, but I love that you're doing it. Definitely one of the things I absolutely believe is that thinning of the veils, that kind of in between thing. And that makes sense that Samhain is how I pronounce it. So I know
Yeah,
there's
that's
lots of ways.
probably the right way. Thank you.
Yeah. So I am very much about the in between. To me, the in between is it's within everything. It's the stillness. It's the neutral mind. So I really like the in between state. I feel like I like the connection that it can bring. Um, maybe without my even realizing it, maybe I did spend time thinking of, my loved ones that have passed around this time. Um, so I really like that you're doing that.
And I like that that's a neat concept. And the other thing I like about the kind of the in between, like if you look at the seasons shift, it's
Mm-hmm.
like look at the weather. At least we're in Colorado. So our weather right now, it is currently October 20th, and our current weather is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. There's not a lot of sun, but there's not a lot of clouds, so I'm not getting burnt as quickly, which is kind of cool. It's Now the nights can be a little bit rough, but they're still not like negatives or anything crazy like we get in the winter sometimes. So I
Mhm.
see that in you. Like you're a very soft person. Like you're warm, you're loving, you're soft spoken, you're mild mannered. And so it actually makes sense that you're more for the in between.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So it's my favorite spot. I don't want to be too this or too that or not enough this and not enough that. I just, yeah, I love kind of that flow of the in between.
Yeah.
The yin yang symbol, I see that as kind of that S that divides the dark and the light. And
Oh,
so
that's kind of
that's,
cool.
yep. And so that's where I like to kind of reside.
Nice.
It's right there in the in between. So,
That's really
um,
neat.
mhm.
I think another thing that's really cool about Halloween is the cultural differences too.
Okay.
So, like, the pagans, they tend to have like feasts, bonfires, and the Wiccans, what they used to do is, now keep in mind that this was back in the day. People didn't know as much as they know now, but pagans used to do more of the sacrificial stuff around this time. Not necessarily all of them, but it was very common among them.
Mm,
Wiccans tended to do the feasts, the bonfires, the kind of dancing in the night sky. And what would happen is the
right.
bonfires would attract, like the light from it would attract
Mhm.
bugs. Well, what happened is the reason bats are a symbol for Halloween is because the bugs would then attract the bats. So they would be dancing and feasting around this bonfire with bunches of bats flying around above them. And this was a normal thing. I thought that was just the coolest bit of information. I don't know why. But then if you look at the more Hispanic and Latin cultures, they still do the dancing and the feasting, but it's more in remembrance of their relatives specifically.
Mm,
Like if they were in the room joining them, they're having a party, they're getting together, they're having a great time, they're celebrating, they're talking with each other, they're remembering. So
mm,
the goals are kind of different, but there's a lot of similarities at the same time too.
mm.
And then the
Yeah.
jack-o'-lantern came from the Celts making lanterns out of gourds.
Hmm. Yeah, I read those two things. I think it's incredibly interesting. Let's see, a couple facts that I came across. All Saints Day or All Hallows Eve
Mhm.
used to be celebrated, I want to say it was like March or May, somewhere in there.
Really?
They're the ones that chose to change it
To meet our
over
holiday.
to be our holiday. But I think it's very interesting that it wound up on the holiday of the thinning of the veil.
Yeah.
So I would say it's more appropriate there.
And I
So,
think that's part of what kind of stirred up a little bit of the uproar when it came to the more Christian and Catholic based religions because like I said that Satan and his minions are supposed to be able to get through easier too, which means that we need more of God's protection and less of this over here because that maybe this is attracting them. Maybe they just didn't understand. And we don't know. We weren't there.
yeah.
But ultimately, they grew kind of fearful because, oh, well, Satan's involved with this.
But and if you look at the Catholic Church, they definitely well and I mean most Christians, I mean there's a lot in the Bible about demon possessions.
Mhm.
So it would stand to reason they would
Not
like be
welcoming them into your home. So if
yes,
you
and
don't
you would
understand and you see somebody with all these nasty decorations, it looks like you welcomed them, but really we're trying to ban them.
you're trying to ban them.
It's
Yeah,
just they don't understand.
yeah, but wouldn't it have been great if we'd have kind of maybe come together over that fact?
Hmm.
A long time ago, and they could have maybe adopted some of that. And that is the part of Halloween when I kind of stopped celebrating there for a few years. One of our differences, right, is I have a hard time with horror. I have a hard time with the grotesque and the and all that kind of stuff. I'm more airy and light. So I have a hard time with that. I love the cute and the playful. I love to see kids in their costumes. I love that piece of it. But for me, I can feel, what do I want to say? Do I want to say bad? Um,
Bombarded with darkness?
maybe, or, I hate to see kids like have to be overly scared. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing for an adult who purposely likes to be scared, but it's another for me. But that could just be my sensitive spirit, but that's where I come from. That's one of the things I've had a hard time with. But I do love to celebrate the bounty. To me, it's much more appropriate at this time of
Oh,
year
right.
than Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Because
yeah, because sorry, go ahead.
yeah, okay. So by Thanksgiving, we've already dealt with all our crops and all that. And I know that maybe that's different in different areas of the country, but for people, pagan, Wiccan, who are celebrating more kind of the earth's rotation of the sun and the timing of the year, this is the time to be harvesting. And so I have a tendency to really feel thankful from mid-September all the way through Thanksgiving. To me, it's a very thankful time. So
No, I agree because it is about the harvest too. It's about the bountiful. And that's part of why the feast and the
yeah, and
celebration.
sharing and
And yes, exactly. And
yeah,
another commonality in some of them, not all of them, but some will take, like maybe apples were a good harvest, or maybe, you grew peaches or even, I don't know, potatoes, whatever it is that you harvested that is your last harvest. You
yeah,
set that as part of your shrine so that your loved ones get to enjoy that harvest too. So it's not always just the bread's just one of
yeah.
the more common ones.
Mm,
But a lot of those shrines you'll see a couple of things from the harvest sitting there as well.
yeah, very cool.
Mhm.
Did you find out anything on the sugar skulls? I was hoping you would touch on that because I think they're beautiful, very
um,
intricate.
so another cool thing is that on the pagan and Wiccan side, you have more regular skulls, more of the dark stuff to repel the darkness, like we already talked about. But for the Latin and the Hispanic cultures, the sugar skulls, most everybody knows what those are. Most everybody's bought something with a sugar skull at some point.
Hmm.
They they're meant to represent a departed soul. So it had the name
Wow.
on the forehead, and they would go and take it to the gravestone or to the home and leave it as an offering after celebrating. And that's actually really cool. um
Wow.
and it's to honor the return of that spirit. Well, it might not be after celebrating, actually. It doesn't technically say that part. That was just me rambling. I'm really excited. I got goodies in today. But the art reflects the folk art style of big happy smiles, colorful icing, and sparkly tin and glittery adornments. So I think that's kind of interesting, actually.
That's very interesting. I think I'd be all over that.
Yeah, it says that they're labor intensive and made in very small batches in the homes of sugar skull makers.
Hmm.
Wonderful artisans are disappearing as fabricated and imported candy skulls take their place. That's sad.
Yeah.
But this is mexicanssugarskull.com is the website that I'm using right now, by the way.
Hmm.
Um yeah, so it's more of a cultural holiday than a religious one. Yeah, meant to celebrate the memories of loved ones through art, cooking, music, building ofrendas, doing activities with our children. We can recount family stories, fun times, and lessons learned, not how the person died, but how they lived.
I
So it's
love
all
that.
about life.
I love it. Love it.
I think that's absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to add today?
Let us know in the comments if you know, your thoughts, ideas,
If I
ways
messed
you
up a cultural
celebrate.
thing.
Correct us if we're wrong. Share with us the things that you like to do. Anyone out there?
Yeah, yeah. How do you celebrate? What's your tradition? I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah.
And before we go, I'm sure you guys see this lovely shelf of craziness here behind me. This is how much I love Halloween. I all the way took the time to put all my stuff out here. I was like, oh, super cute. But I my dad and I love Halloween so much that I get to dress up real nice this year, and he got me some really cool goodies. So he made the arm pieces. He made
What
the
are they made from, Siffany?
oh, so these are 3D printed.
Very cool.
Yeah, and one of my personal favorites, the binoculars. And they I can see through it too. That's the best part.
Wow.
I came with the arm gloves, the batarangs, and everything, and then I got this little guy at the last concert I went to. I went to go see Drowning Pool and Saliva, and it was super amazing. So this little guy came home with me, and I think this guy's absolutely adorable too, with his little bat wings. But, and they are the fuzziest things I've ever held. It's amazing. So, little stuff matters too. And I've got Jack and Sally up here, and I do little things all over the house. Like there's not a lot in here to decorate, but just little stuff. Sometimes that's all it takes. Like I used to struggle, my last little keynote, I used to struggle with feeling like I didn't have enough decorations. Like I wanted more. I wanted to celebrate better. Like it didn't feel like I was doing it enough or like right. And
Hmm.
I started getting really creative. I started kind of just doing little things here and there that made me feel a little bit better. And even if you just want to set up a shrine and that's it, or you just want to sit inside, hand out candy and do nothing, or do absolutely nothing, it's entirely up to you. But let's just make sure now we have some more understanding of each other's views, and
Hmm.
hopefully we can kind of, just smile and wave now instead of smirk and turn.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
thank you all for joining us today, and can't wait to see your comments. And hey, if you are dressing up, feel free to give us a picture too. What you doing this year? I'd love to see that too. I know that's
Yeah.
more my thing, but pictures can be fun too sometimes.
Hmm.
He
It's
loves the
not
child
just,
costumes.
probably my last comment, I have noticed over the last maybe 10 years, like Halloween celebrating has like exploded. And and I think there's something there. There's some underlying, there's some wave of something trying to come through, whether it's, let's get clearer about what we're doing, whether it's, you know, this is the time to just really be playful before everything really starts turning cold and dark and dreary. I don't know, but I would encourage to give a little thought to that.
Yeah, yeah, you're
So,
not wrong.
yeah. So,
Well, thank you all for joining us today, and
thank you.
happy hunting.